So I'm on a 17-match winning streak right now, and one of the main reasons for it is that my forehand has been on an absolute heater lately. And there's a reason for that. Since the beginning of the year, I've been making some adjustments to my forehand, not changes, adjustments, just to make it a bit more reliable when I'm on offense, when I'm on defense, just to increase the overall quality of my forehand. It's not that my forehand was awful before that, but it's definitely not as natural, as consistent as my backhand. But now, at 29 years old, I feel like I finally get it, that I really trust my input. There are 3 major adjustments I've been hammering down in all my practice sessions this year. And these are very simple and universal technique modifications that you can also apply to your game. So in today's video, I want to walk you through these adjustments and show you why they're so impactful. And out of these 3 adjustments, there's one that I actively think about and remind myself during matches. As you know, I don't love thinking about technique during competition, so I want to keep things very simple when I'm competing. So at the end of this video, I'll review which one of them it's on my mind when I'm on court. So make sure you stick around all the way to the end. And if after this video you're just bombing some forehands, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you're not subscribed to this channel yet, please subscribe. We really appreciate it. We're closing in 5,000 more to 100K. And also the links down below help the channel as well. We truly appreciate that, but let's go to the lesson. All right, so the first thing we're talking about is my swing. I haven't made any crazy changes, but a priority of mine starting the beginning of the year, dating all the way back to going to Australia, it's been making my swing a little bit more compact. The main reason for this adjustment is because I always had the tendency of like getting my elbow a bit too far behind me here. I even made videos on this where, you know, I don't find it to be the best position. Now, obviously nowadays there's a lot of guys with like high elbows and like crazy acceleration. I'm just not that kind of player. I don't hit the ball like that. I'm more like, it's more about timing, but more about smoothness. To do so, to make it more compact, it's been about actually creating a little bit more separation between my elbow and my body. So I feel like my swing isn't so far like in, it goes a little bit more out. The racket stays actually a tiny bit more in front of me right here and not so like behind me for then to come back. So the goal is to just almost feel like the racket is almost in front of me at the end of my backswing, and then from there it's all about going forward. So if we just hit a few balls here, you know, again, I'm gonna create a little bit more separation and then really allow my racket to aggressively go back and forth. And maybe for you, it looks a little bit more like the ATP forehand, the modern forehand that everyone talks about. But for me, the feeling is that now I can really be aggressive with my loop. I can really feel the forehand, the palm of my hand, as I take it back and then just aggressively, almost like feeling like I can slap that ball. So just this little modification took a little time to get used to. I felt like I didn't have that much power for some time, but it's been super helpful. So yeah, just kind of push the racket out a bit more, push it out, keep it in front of me. And then by the time the ball gets to me, I can really allow that racket to drop back and accelerate. It's been super helpful, and it then feels like my contact is a lot cleaner and just the entire shot is more reliable.
And before we continue, as you can see, I draw a lot of my inspiration for these videos from my lessons, from my time on court, because it's during that time that I see a lot of the mistakes players are making. So we made a free guide highlighting 3 of the major mistakes I see amateurs making, and obviously how to correct them. So if you're sick of losing points you deserve to win, go to top3mistakes.com and download our free guide. Again, top3mistakes.com. Just put your email, download the free guide. It's going to help a lot. We put a lot of work into this, and I think you're gonna like it. And now let's go back to the video.
The second adjustment has been footwork. I've never been very natural at moving to my forehand side, even like on balls that are just coming right at me to like create the right space, feel like I'm timing my steps correctly on my backhand side. It's always been a lot easier, a lot more second nature basically. My main issue was typically because I would actually get to my load a little bit too quickly. And what happened is like I'd have to wait for the ball to get to me a little bit too much. And it would just kind of break the fluidity of the motion. If you see my backhand, I'm always very easy at left, right, hit. It all feels like in one motion. Sometimes on the forehand, I just kind of felt a bit stuck on the ground. So our man Marcos Giron, shout out to him. He told me, he's actually stop trying to load so early. If anything, almost pretend like you're not loading. Now I'll explain in a second, but just basically wait until that last second to stay on the toes, and then explode to the ball. That was something that I never really had on my forehand. So the way I've applied this to my game is feeling that like I'm never really too stationary on my forehand. I'm always in motion. It creates this really dynamic feeling on the forehand side. As you see, like I'm gonna split, I'm gonna move to the ball. I'm never really fully stopping. You see, I'm allowing my feet to keep moving all the way to basically when I'm about to hit. And by doing that, I'm actually able to feel like I'm much more fluid. There's not like a hitch, a stop, this kind of weird sensation where it's like, oh, now I'm kind of like having to catch up again with the ball. It all feels like it's one motion. And of course I'm still gonna load and push. The feeling is that there's not that huge separation between my footwork to the ball, away from the ball, doesn't matter, and the load, because that's how I felt before, that I had to like get to the ball really quickly, load too much and have all this time to then push, where now everything feels just a little bit more fluid. And the third thing is right here, my head. Making sure my head's a little bit more still, that I'm watching the contact a little longer. Now, I'm right eye dominant. I'm not gonna go over this topic a lot. Mr. The Coach loves to talk about it. There's videos about it on YouTube, so you guys can find that out. Because I'm right eye dominant, that means that on my backhand side, okay, now looking to the camera, let's pretend the court is that way. When I'm making contact, see, my head can be still here, really watching the contact, but I can still really see my line, my target that way because of this eye being the dominant one. Now, when we switch to the forehand side, if I stay really close here, I have a hard eye. See, I don't really see the camera that well right here. Here, I see the camera really well. Here, I don't. So the tendency for me was always to, obviously we don't want to watch the target before, but we want to have a little bit of an idea, was to open up a tiny bit too quickly. Just hit my forehand a little bit too open, like my body's a bit too open because I'm trying to see from my right eye. You see here? And obviously hitting a forehand a bit too open can cause all kinds of problems with your motion. So now I'm really focused on over exaggerating, keeping my head actually a little bit more closed, watch my contact for longer. Kind of like the Federer, right? Every time we see a Federer picture, he's just kind of perfectly right here, and it's just like, it's just the way it should be. And I'm completely forgetting my target. Because the reality is, I'm never gonna really see that target as well on my forehand side. So I'm letting go of it. I'm only gonna focus on this execution. Again, if I close my eyes, I know where the court is. I know what I have to do. I know the target I wanna hit. So I'm just gonna over exaggerate how long I'm actually staying here, watching that contact and finishing my execution. So you see, I'm gonna really commit to staying here. By the time I'm looking up, the ball is almost bouncing on the other side. And it's been very helpful for me to get my contact a little bit better, and even my swing path. And again, it's not only for making good contact, but the idea of keeping my neck, my head a little more still makes my body actually rotate around my neck a little bit more. I feel like my shoulders being really thrown towards the target versus also almost like my head leading the way to the hit. You see this versus here, I'm able to like really rotate. See my shoulders really coming through. See, just feed me one. My shoulders really coming through, and I'm creating that nice like tight spin shape on my forehand side. All right, so which of these 3 adjustments do you think I focused the most during my matches? Number 1, my take back, started making it more compact. Number 2, my footwork, staying light on my feet, not loading too quickly. Or number 3, keeping my head nice and still at contact and really watching the contact. Go ahead, comment down below 1, 2, or 3. I'll give you 10 seconds for you to comment. All right, let's do it. 10 seconds. It's still to open a bit too much, especially in tight situations. And the answer is number 3, keeping my head still. Now, I still, every once in a while, go back to number 1 and number 2 when I'm playing matches when I really feel like I did one of those 2 wrong. But my main input right now is to keep the head still, not allowing it to open too quickly, really watch the contact. And the reason for it is because during matches, my most common mistake is still to open a bit too much, especially in tight situations. Only thinking about that allows me to really focus on execution versus outcome. When things get a little tight, you get a bit nervous, it's easy to put so much weight on the outcome of your shot, on the outcome of the match. By just really focusing on keeping the head still, it has allowed me to execute so much better without thinking about if it's gonna go in or out. I can live with the mistake as long as I feel like I executed the right way, but I don't miss anymore. So these are the 3 adjustments that have helped me my forehand tremendously. And you see, they're super simple. There's no magic trick. There's no crazy biomechanical talk that just makes everything so complicated. The more you aim at making things simple on the court, the more brain power you have to actually figure out how to beat your opponents. And maybe let me know in the comments below if you're seeing any difference on my forehand, maybe from all the videos you've watched here 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, if you see the improvement. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.